things off by introducing the speaker and asking him to please respond to this question. Would you please share one piece of insider knowledge that many job seekers might not be aware of, but would find incredibly helpful in their job search?
Just one?
Oh, we'll kick it off with one, but by all means,
All right.
the more the merrier.
So just to give you some context, so I got into recruiting by accident, like a lot of recruiters do. I was in a leadership development program over 20 years ago. Recruiting as a profession is crazy interesting. So I've worked with thousands of veterans. I've worked with thousands of professionals that have been in transition, and hundreds of companies that struggle with hiring. So I tried to boil it down to, I think, what is the number one thing that job seekers can do to help themselves? And there's a couple of things we can talk about today, but probably the one word that I want you to remember is consistency. And it's not something that I've seen just from job seekers, but it's also internally with some of the recruiters that I've worked with. The best recruiters aren't necessarily the best salespeople, the most silver-tongued people on the phones. It's the people that are most consistent. So the advice that I give to job seekers every single week, try to have what I call a meaningful conversation, 10 to 15 of those per week. So let's define what a meaningful conversation is. So let's say you have a running buddy from this group and you like to kibitz every week and, hey, how's your search going? Not necessarily a meaningful conversation if you're just picking up the phone to talk to each other to talk about how bad the process is of finding a new job, right? A meaningful conversation could mean I had a good screening call with a corporate recruiter at one of my target companies. We really clicked. They promised that they would help me get in touch with hiring managers if I saw job recs that made sense to me. That's a meaningful conversation. Maybe you reconnect with one of your former coworkers and get together for coffee. That person gives you two or three names to talk to. Well, oh, you should talk to this person or you should talk to that person, right? That is a meaningful conversation. Anything that is going to move you closer to the finish line, and being consistent by doing that week in and week out, particularly when you start getting interviews. Because one of the biggest mistakes I see job seekers do is they get past that screening interview and they get into an interview process, and then that they kind of turn everything else off, right? They stop networking, they stop applying to jobs, they stop doing everything else because I'm going to wait and see how this turns out. Well, it could be 8 to 12 to 16 weeks before they drag you to the end and say, hey, we really liked you, but we decided to go with another candidate, and you've lost all of that momentum. And if you're consistently being consistent, week in and week out, setting up networking calls, getting in touch with hiring managers, doing the right thing, then it reaches a point where you've got 2, 3, 4 interview processes going on at the same time. And so if you get that rejection email on a Friday and it's a punch in the gut, I know. But if you've got 3 more interviews scheduled next week, you move on. If you haven't done anything for 8 weeks, but focus on this one job opportunity, and then you get rejected, you've lost all your momentum. Does that make sense? That's probably the most number one thing I could do, because just that consistent effort week in, week out, right? Like, I don't know if there's any runners or gym enthusiasts here, but even if you just go for a little bit a day, right? Like if, had a terrible run today, it was raining, I only went for, 2, 3 miles. Well, that's a bad run is better than just sitting on the couch, right? So being consistent is what's going to get you to that goal of ideally having 2 or 3 different job opportunities where you're bouncing job offers and trying to pick which one's going to be the right one. So that's what I recommend. That's the special sauce. That's really not special sauce. It's just about doing the right things and being consistent. Now, the devil's in the details. If you're doing the right things, it'll be faster. You can have activity all week long, but if you're fooling yourself and it's not moving the ball forward, oh, I was super busy last week. Okay, well, that's great. What did you do? Well, I applied to 100 jobs. Okay. Are they the right jobs? Did they net you any interviews? Right. So don't mistake busy for progress. What else?
Some great advice. Thank you very much. So we will stop the recording now so that people can go ahead and start asking